Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's Ben Capozzi with Broad Shoulders Farm in beautiful Halifax County, Virginia, USDA Grow Zone 7. As you can hear, I'm out here with the geese who are passing judgment on my progress or lack thereof of this area and the cattle panel greenhouse. Or another cattle panel greenhouse or high tunnel. So let me flip the camera around and I'll talk with you a little bit about what I'm working on today, and we'll go from there. Hi, Grace. Hi, baby. All right, so I'm in the former waterfowl home for gentle lads. You all have seen this place many times. After their barn blew over last spring, the waterfowl paddock was moved over there, clearing all this area out for my long-term plan of turning it into the retirement home for the laying flock, who are still over there, as well as a composting area to put them to work. So that's where I'm working, and their house, the retirement hen house, is coming along pretty well. It needs probably another half day from me to add the roosting bars and close up a few of the holes, caulk the ceiling a little bit. I did get a door put on it and closed up most of the rest of it, but I just kind of turned my attention to this over here. And what this is excuse me, another cattle panel greenhouse. And this one I'm going to be growing, well, I've got a couple ideas in mind for what I want to do with it. I built my first cattle panel greenhouse in 2018, that summer, when I first started farming, and we were still living at the rental house way over there. And it was great. It was really interesting to build the first time, and I've since built, I think this is my fifth one. They're very easy, they're very versatile, excuse me, they're very inexpensive. So highly recommend them. Sean at Edible Acres has plenty of videos on his use and his construction of them. I think I originally got the plans from a YouTube account. I think it's Texas Prepper 2 or something like that. I paid for the plans, and but you can kind of figure it out on your own if you're slightly excuse me, mechanically inclined. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. It was worth it. It was like $5. Like it was very inexpensive and worthwhile. Happy to compensate someone for sharing such great stuff. But anyhow, the idea behind this is I'm going to use it for one or two different purposes, and I haven't made up my mind just yet. But the first is greenhouse veggies for me and for the retiring hens who will be living here. I'm going to do an update in another video about this whole kind of border here that I'd set up. I have some different plans for that. My plan is evolving, and that may not be the source of greens that I thought it was going to be for the birds, but then again, it might still. But either way, one idea is to set this up as a greenhouse to grow crops for me, especially over winter. As we move into the colder and wetter part of the season, it's a lot easier for me to drive up in the car, come out here, grab some fresh veg for me and the family, as well as take care of the birds in all their different areas, excuse me, rather than me moving around to either of the market gardens. Just depends on how much production I'm going to have this winter. So the idea is there would be two 30-inch beds, one here, a narrow lane down the middle. And I just thought you might be interested in the construction of this a little bit. So it's basically a rectangle. I usually make them, I think, about 7 feet wide. And you can make the length as many units wide or as many units long as you want, depending on how many cattle panels you want to invest in. I've got plenty of spare ones for a tomato trellising project over there that I am redoing, going to do it in a different way, which is great because I need more of these panels and I don't want to have to go buy them. I think they're about $22 a piece right now, maybe more. That's what I paid for them. I've had them here on the farm for at least a year. So anyhow, repurposing them, excuse me. And the construction is pretty simple. Like I said, it's just a basic rectangle. This is just a brace right here. That's a brace, and that's a brace, just while I'm getting this thing framed up. Working with, this is was an 18-foot long piece of solid oak. And you can see it's about 2.5 inches thick. These were quite heavy. And they're, what is that, 6 inches deep probably. So to get them to stay in place while I work in here, I need the little braces. those are going to be repurposed as roosting bars inside the retirement hen house. But the way I build these is I get my basic footprint set up, my basic frame. In this case, I went with a little more room. I made it 8 by 201 inches. That's 16 and 16 3/4 feet long. And that's because the cattle panels determine kind of your increments. So this is 50 1/4 inches wide. So I do 50 1/4, 50 1/4, 50 1/4, 50 1/4, which gives me a total length of 201 inches, which is 16.75 feet. So that'll be 16 by 8. I can't tell you what the square footage is for that off the top of my head, but it's plenty, especially with the 3-foot bed there and a 3-foot bed there. One of the cool things about this, and I got this idea from Sean, one of the coolest things is talks about watering it. And he's got his set up on a swale with a kind of a deep trough that runs through the middle. And it's on the lower end of his property, the way it slopes, and he gets tons of runoff from any kind of rain events, and it flows right through the middle. Excuse me, the middle of it. And he's got the middle dug out and full of sawdust. And so when he's channeled water into his house, and that water actually goes in there and stagnates, but it gets wicked up into the beds on the side. And so he never, hardly ever, never say never, he hardly ever has to water it. And I love something like that. He's in a colder climate than we are. He's in zone 5 up near Ithaca, New York. But I think I can try it here, especially because my source of water is twofold. One, excuse me, there'll be the constant draining of and cleaning of feed and water bowls for the hens as they come in and out of here every day. I change their water. May even set up a little very shallow bathing pool for them in the summer when it gets super hot. They enjoy that. So that water will come down. But also, and I've talked about this in other videos, there's a long ditch here at the base of my market garden. The market garden, the ground here angles this way. It comes down like this towards me. So, and the rows go north-south. So as water is shed off the rows, it comes down into that ditch, and there's 3 little redirects that channel that water into another ditch on this side of the fence, which comes around here, yada, 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 and goes into here, and then snakes around right here, and goes back to this corner where I'm going to plant probably another willow, something that will really dig the wet feet. Maybe just a giant stand of elderberries, I'm not sure. But fundamental to the idea of why I want to do this and how I want to do this is the idea that water will be channeled into it pretty regularly, and nutrient-rich water, because this area up here is kind of the main platform where I will be doing most of the composting. I'll be bringing in fresh kitchen scraps. I've got one restaurant I've been working with for the better part of a year. There's a new restaurant opening up in town that I think serves pretty clean, whole food, and that's what I like to talk to them about. We don't have a lot of restaurants like that in our area, unfortunately. You know, I mean, I don't want to go to Taco Bell and ask them for their kitchen scraps, you know, and things like that. So in terms of folks cooking with fresher, more whole ingredients, my options are limited. So, but the idea, and this is all from Justin Rhodes and Sean Dembroski again with Edible Acres and Sasha. And honestly, the big guy is Carl Hammer up in Vermont at the Vermont Composting Company. I saw a video with him even before I started my farm, and I was like, oh, and that's what I can do with the chickens entering retirement. We don't have to butcher them. We can put them to work making compost. So kitchen scraps will come in here. They'll get mixed with lots and lots of carbon from either sawdust from my father-in-law's saw cutting operation or any of the local mills around here. Also, excuse me, tons of wheat. Hey, HR, good job. Tons of wheat and straw bales and things like that, and hay bales that can help. They break that down beautifully. So some of that runoff will come in here. Again, it can get channeled down right in here and go right through here. So I'm pretty excited. This is a project that you can do in a day if you're really focused. You can take a couple days. You can do it in half a day if you have some friends. I just kind of can work on it a little bit at a time. But I hope to have it done here very soon. There's a lot going on this week. off the farm, but you know, there's always a lot going on off the farm. So because the ground, if we get over here, you can see a little bit better. The ground kind of steps down due to some other attempts at earthworks that I had tried back when this was the waterfowl home for gentle lads. I wanted to just embrace that and not level all this out. So, and I did a little drawing here just to kind of make it hopefully easier. But, you know, the typical hoop house, I've got flat ground and then the hoop is like that. Well, this one, the ground stair steps down. So this actual hoop house is going to be staggered, kind of like an upside down J. So not a U, but a J. And I think that's a little easier to see. Whoops, sorry. Oh, sorry, guy. Sorry, Red. I kicked Red by accident. I'm sorry. So you can see a little bit better there that there is this step down. And I'll, you know, be shaping and solidifying this stuff up. These houses are, like I said, versatile and expensive. I'm not, you know, really worrying about building a foundation or anything like that for these things. I mean, I'm kind of over, I think, stressing about some of this stuff at this point. You can make these with much less fuss. They're very forgiving. But once the panels are all in, I'll skin it with greenhouse plastic from A.M. Leonard. Please, 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 if you make one of these, use real greenhouse plastic. The stuff you can buy from the big box stores breaks down within a season, and it breaks down horribly. Like, it just turns into these plastic sheeting flakes that get everywhere, and they just keep getting into smaller and smaller pieces of plastic sheeting flakes. They're not UV treated. Don't work with that. Spring for the good stuff. And another just construction thing here. I propped the panels up on a little rail. It's a 2x3 in the middle just to prop it up. And then I put these giant fence staples in. They're quite large. They look like... they look just like this. They're galvanized steel. They're quite durable. I drive them in one place, two place, and then when I join up the next cattle panel, I'll drive one. They'll pinch both of them together to hold them in place. But you know, you don't really need to overbuild these. I haven't pounded these in all the way just yet because I've got this brace here that's taking up like 3 inches. So I'm going to take that brace off, scooch this whole thing over. I left enough room that I can scooch, and then I'll pound it in for good. And that'll start to lend the stability to this thing. I'll probably come in later when I join, when I join the 2 panels when this next one comes, and I'll zip tie this whole thing. You can use wire or twine, however you want to do it, but I'm a zip tie fan, so I'll be using those. And that's just how I'll keep going to build this thing. So I don't know that I'll finish it this week. It would be great to finish it this week because I'd love to get the bed set up and planted out. There's going to be 2 doors, depending on how I use this, whether or not it's strictly for winter composting for the birds or for a greenhouse for me, kind of influences your access and your airflow. I'm going to use 2 doors because in order to make some of this, I disassembled 2 smaller cattle panel greenhouses that I had, or tunnels that I had earlier. You've seen me use these a lot for grow out pins for the chickens. But I salvaged those 2 doors. I hate making doors, so I'd already made those doors. We're reusing these doors. So there's going to be a 30-inch door here and a 30-inch door there. Yeah, and I'll just start framing it up. So that's where we are. Questions, comments, concerns, helpful critique, always welcome. Be sure to say hey to the ducks if you're ever out and about and you see them. Ducks are awesome and sweet. And wherever you are, whatever you're up to, I hope that you're doing well. And please continue to do so. I'll talk to y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye. Hi, Ginger. Hello, lady.